And this is our
Shelf of Shameful Opportunity.
So this is where we look at a bunch of games that we have tabled for the first time.
Yes, we're catching up after a couple of years of not playing a lot of new games, so we are really trying to chug through them.
Doing our best anyway.
Yes.
So the first one that's up this time is kind of a large-scale game. It is Ticket to Ride Legacy of the West.
Yes, which obviously we haven't owned for 3-4 years like some of the other games, but we were pretty excited to play it.
Or 10 years.
For 10 years, yeah. So
Warzone, which we still haven't tabled.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll get it. We're getting there. So, yeah, Ticket to Ride Legacy. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I think legacy games are not for everyone, really. I think that, the fun of opening new things and expanding the board as you go and expanding the story and all that. There wasn't much story to this game. I'll say that. The story wasn't pretty thin. The one element I didn't love was there were a couple points where I got overwhelmed with like in many legacy games, it adds a rule, it adds a rule, it adds a rule, and it takes them away. But the way this sort of worked, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, is it just happened in our experience that it didn't take any away for a while, and we just kept adding rules, and it got a bit complicated.
It did. I know at one point we just sort of weren't even paying attention to one of the little pieces of it.
And that one was a little take thatty.
That was the other thing.
And we're not take that people, so so we could ignore it. So that was good.
Yeah.
It really didn't impact the game at all to ignore it.
Yeah, and I think overall, there were a few things that there's definitely some take that elements in it, but you could ignore them or you could not play in a way that was super aggressive, which I think was really nice. I think depending on your play style, this could play very differently, but that to me is a real selling point, is that you could play it either really aggressive or you could play it a little bit more sort of Care Bear like we do.
Yeah, so it worked. I mean, it was fun. You got to build up your rail company, and again, I try to avoid spoilers, but and through a whole campaign of doing different things, and it's interesting, and I think it's really fun.
I really liked it.
I don't know that there's any Ticket to Ride that's a 10 out of 10 for me. I love Ticket to Ride, but it's not like my favoriteest, and that goes for the Legacy too.
Right.
It might be, the Legacy might be one of my favorite Ticket to Rides. It's definitely up there, but it's not like, it wasn't a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever.
Right.
It was 9 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10. So.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think if you like Ticket to Ride, especially, this is a no-brainer to get this. Yeah. It was so much fun. It was really, it had everything that you love about Ticket to Ride, plus then the joy of discovery, plus then there were some sort of like mini goals, again, no spoilers, but things that you were trying to do in the course of the game that made it a little bit more unique and different every time you played it, which was just so much fun. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was really good. There's even a part of me that's like, I want to play it again so I can just try to explore it in a different order.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. And that won't make sense because I'm avoiding spoilers, but that matters.
Yeah.
What you do in what order matters.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we did one thing probably way out of order from most people. And I think if we did it again, I would want to do that early instead of late.
I think it'd be more interesting early.
Yeah.
So it kind of fizzled a little bit because we did it late.
Yeah.
It was cool for half a game.
Right. Yeah.
So that's all we'll say. Fun, but we just don't want to spoil the experience for anybody.
Yeah.
So that's why we're being big.
Yeah. So that was Ticket to Ride Legacy of the West.
All right. Next up, we have a solo game from Button Shy Games. This is called FantasyForm. Now, this is a remake of Spaceship, which is a space-based game, obviously. And this is in a fantasy theme, but it's really kind of a market game / boss battler. It's interesting.
Yeah, I really liked it. I know I think you felt the mechanisms made more sense with spaceship.
Yeah, I just think they're more intuitive with the spaceship.
Yeah, I liked it better with the FantasyForm. I just think the theme was, I don't care for the space theme. It just really doesn't do anything for me. And I really enjoy the fantasy theme. And so mechanically, it's a really solid game. This just took it up a notch for me. I really liked it.
No, totally. I tried to get the space theme to do my laundry. It wouldn't do a thing. Did nothing for me.
Nothing. I know.
No, actually.
Meanwhile, the FantasyForm, let me tell you, made dinner and gave me a foot massage.
So I just think the space theme works better for me with this particular game because of the mechanics of the game. The fantasy theme works fine. The space theme just is more intuitive to me. But both are fun games. FantasyForm does not disappoint. It's fun. It's challenging. It's you get immersed in it.
Yeah, one of the things I think is really cool about it is that the cards it's the multi-use cards, right? Depending on where they are, they have a different role. And I think the creativity of these designers be able to take 18 cards and make that much of a game out of something is incredible to me. I mean, I think there was a teach involved, but it was a 40-minute game.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I think most often it's under 30.
Yeah.
But it's 20 to 30 tops. The teach was why it was longer.
Yeah, but I think if you are, especially if you're traveling a lot for work and you're spending a lot of time alone at a hotel or whatever, this is the type of game that would be so great because you can just tuck it in your pocket and there's a lot of game there.
Yep, agreed. So definitely a winner. That is FantasyForm from Button Shy Games.
Yep.
Okay, we had to skip a couple games because I played them, but Jen hasn't. So I got to get to them teach her those games. I'm disabled, so I learn the games. She works, and I teach her.
Yeah, I don't have as much time for gaming either, so Jane gets a lot of solo play in where I really don't get a lot in.
The next up, we have a trio of roll and write games from Totem Games. And these are all Christmas-themed roll and writes. We can talk about them individually or as a group, but the first one that we played was Ready for Christmas.
I really liked this, especially for just a Christmas-themed roll and write. We had a lot of fun with this. Yeah. I think probably... if I did my top 100 list of if I did my top 100 of roll and writes, it would be in there because I don't know. Probably only played about 120. But for a Christmas themed game, it really takes it up a notch. If you're looking for Christmas themed games, easily accessible, you can download these and print them out and play them. And they're a couple dollars a piece, probably. Really, really, really fun and satisfying.
Yeah, this one, Ready for Christmas, I thought was the most thematic of the three roll and write Christmas games we got from them. But probably not my favorite gameplay of the three. I thought the gameplay was good. I just think the other two are a little better gameplay-wise. Yeah,
see, I sometimes have trouble, especially when it comes to a Christmas game, of separating out the gameplay from the theme. And because this one was so thematic, you're rolling your dice and you're decorating your tree and you're putting presents under the tree and you're baking cookies and just really fun. Really enjoyed
I like
this
all the
as
elements
a nice
of this
Christmas,
one.
As a nice Christmas game.
Yeah, it works perfectly for that. And then, so the second game that's in the trio of games was Tricky Christmas Gnomes. I liked this one quite a bit.
Yeah, you're right.
I actually played it solo a bunch. It's really fun and puzzly. It's really kind of an abstract game, but it plays pretty quickly. It does have that Christmas theme pasted on top, and it's really quite fun.
Yeah, I thought it was neat too. I'm trying to remember exactly how it played. I know that
you're trying to get smiley faces in these buildings, but at the same time, you're rolling dice, which are putting black marks in the different houses.
Right, that's right. So you roll a hand, basically of 5 dice, and then one of them has to be a gnome, or like a tricky Christmas gnome, and the other 4 you get to put in Christmas smiley faces, I think.
You roll 1 die for the gnome, and that gnome puts black marks in 4 buildings, usually.
That's right.
And then you roll 4 dice, and you can do actions with them. And basically, you're really doing really simple. You're collecting smiley faces and then putting smiley faces in houses, and trying to get houses that have like a majority of smiley faces or at least 1 smiley face. There's actually 3 different scoring conditions for the game. Yeah. Which actually adds to the replayability quite a bit, because you can replay it using the different scoring conditions and have different challenges. Yep. I thought that was really good.
And one of the things I like about this trio of games, you jogged my memory, I remember what it is now, is that you have to earn your actions, right? Yep. So to put a number in a house, you actually have to earn that smiley face by filling in like a present, for example. And the same thing is true with Ready for Christmas, is that you have to earn your action. So you're kind of trying to balance like making sure that you get enough actions to put numbers into the houses with getting the really like plum numbers into the good houses that you want. And so that balance makes it really challenging. It's a really interesting puzzle. It's different every time, because you've got to do, the numbers are going to be different, and then how you evaluate what to do with them is going to be different every time. And to me, that makes this designer who tends to do that make really interesting games.
Yeah, there's a trio of designers on this, I should point out.
Okay.
The last game in the 3, we talked about 2 of them primarily, is Best Snowman Wins. I really enjoyed this one.
I did too.
This one I feel like I could still play, because it's Christmas themed, but it's not so strictly Christmas themed that you couldn't play it in February. It's winter themed more than Christmas themed.
Yeah, I really like this one. So the way this one works is you've got a snowman, which has different parts on it. And of course the different accessories like a hat and broom arms and stuff like that. And you have to use like a low number to fill the bottom, a middle number to fill the middle, and a high number to fill the top. But to get those accessories, you have to wind your way through this like number grid, like it's a maze, and you got to fill in the numbers. So if you get, I'm looking at it right now, a number 6 on your first roll, you could sort of go to the right of one of the entrances. And that way you get to the accessories, and getting the accessories allows you to score more points on each section of the snowman. And so just really, again, so much decision space in what is more or less a simple game.
This one was really pretty challenging because of that maze. It was possible to have dice you couldn't use pretty easily. And so you had to be really careful about how you navigated the maze, so that you didn't put yourself in a position where you just needed a bunch of 5s and 6s, and all you roll are 1s, 2s, and 3s. Like, you're stuck.
Right.
So that was tricky.
Yeah, that was really tricky. I really think this group of designers at this print and play publishing house do a really nice job on their designs. This was a lot of fun. And you could do this, it's still winter out, there's still snow on the ground. You could go download Best Snowman Wins, and it would still feel very thematic.
Yeah, it would feel very thematic for sure. All right, so those are the 3 games for Teetotum Games. I believe I had that right. And they're all print and play Christmas roll and writes, or winter roll and writes.
Yep. So our next one is another print and play, and that is Quiltable Christmas.
I liked this a ton. I thought it was better, not to say the original is bad, I thought it was better than the original Quiltable roll and write that they made last year. I thought this was even better. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I thought the gameplay mechanism where you had 8 spots, 1 to 6, and then 1 above and 1 below. And, if you rolled a 3, you could do the 3 action. If you rolled a 5, you could do the 5 action. But every time you did an action, you marked in a box. And there were only so many boxes in each action. So once it's been done like 4 or 5 times, it was done. And so then if you rolled a 5 and the 5 action was done, you had to choose between the 4 and the 6 action. And then if the 6 action closed, you can get to the action that was below the 6. It was really, really nifty how that worked.
Yeah, and those ones on the top and the bottom that were not associated with a number were really powerful. You really wanted to get those, right? So really fun game. And as you take those actions, you fill in your quilt. So you're actually sort of like drawing patterns on a quilt. For Quiltable Christmas, they were Christmas themed.
Drawing.
Yeah. For the other, fair enough. For
me anyway.
Just what's the non-Christmas one? Just Quiltable. What's it called? Quiltable, right?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah. For Quiltable, you're just drawing more traditional quilt patterns. With Quiltable Christmas, they're Christmas patterns. But I also really love this theme because I grew up sewing. I really like to sew and like being crafty and things like that. And there's just not a lot of games like that out there. And so I think the theme was really cool and really fun. And you're drawing. I mean, I'm not much of an artist, but I still really enjoyed ending up with this like finished product that looked like a quilt that I drew. I thought that was really fun. So yeah, I really liked it.
My quilt was not pretty, but I really enjoyed the game quite a bit. I played it solo as well. I don't think you did, but I played it solo, and the solo is interesting, but a little bit tricksy to track because of how a couple of the interplay works. So some of the interplay works, but it was interesting. It worked. It worked well.
Yeah.
But and we just backed their more recent fireplace quiltable fireplace. So we'll see how that one is. If it's anywhere as good as this one, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
So, yep, that's Quiltable Christmas.
Yep.
Next up, we have one more roll and write. So sorry for the binge of roll and writes, but we had a bunch. So this one's called Roll a Coaster Park. And we backed this on Kickstarter. And it took a while to come out. He was late delivering it, but he was like perfecting the game. And I think he did a good job. It's a really interesting game.
Yeah, I think so too. It's sometimes some of the print and plays, not the ones we just talked about, but sometimes they can be either really, really simple or really formulaic, like there's only one way to go. This was not. This was really great. There's a lot of different ways you can go. There's multiple different maps. Basically, you roll a number, and that tells you what you can do. You can build like a thrill ride or a roller coaster or a mild ride. And then the number on the other dice tells you like the shape you have to draw, and you can't rotate them because you're drawing on a grid.
Right, exactly.
Or you can do some other things with them too. But again, it's that like, it's creating that really fun decision space. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to, wait and build the really fantastic coaster? Or am I going to build a bunch of small ones because they're easy to do and I can, get some quick income in?
So there's like a basic version and an advanced version. And the advanced version is so much more interesting. You can get little perks, and you have to build up your capacity in order to get people into the park.
Right. You can't just like, with the original or the easy version, whatever you want to call it, you can just put guests in whenever. With the you have to roll the numbers, but you could, you don't have to do anything to earn them. But like those other ones we talked about earlier, where you have to like earn your moves, right? You have to do that here. You have to earn your guests, and you do that by building a stall. And if you build a stall, you get 5 guests.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have to stop and build that stall, or you get no guests. And if you don't have guests to ride the rides, you can't make money, you're not going to win the game. And that is the challenge of this game. I think if there's a negative, it's that it's really not hard to get stuck short on money. It takes you have to be thinking ahead. In the first game, I really messed up. But I learned from it, obviously, and did better. But like, it is possible to be stuck. Now, they do have an option. There's like 20 rounds in a game. 15 in the beginner game, and you can pass a turn and collect $2, which helps. We've had to do that a few times. There was at least one game where we both were stuck and we both had to pass. Yeah. So that was the thing, and then like, I don't know. I think it's not my favorite situational thing is to have that where you can run out of money, but I think it's interesting, and it did lead to like that strategy of like, I can take a risk, knowing that if things don't roll my way, I might have to pass next turn.
but I have this really good opportunity this turn. So do I do that? That's a tricky decision. So it is good decision space.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I just have to say the quality of a lot of the print and play roll and writes that we've been getting has been really tremendous, and I don't think people talk about them enough. They don't get a lot of attention, but when we buy a roll and write, we either photocopy it and blow it up, or we take what it is and put it in an envelope and play it at our chair so Jane doesn't have to get up. So for us, there's really not a lot of difference in the experience between one that we're buying and one that we're playing, that we've printed to play. And I think that's probably true for most people. So there are really a lot of great print and play roll and writes out there. They're super cheap. They're very, very inexpensive. And if you travel and want to take them traveling, they're also super easy to travel with. You can use a dice app and basically slip them in a protector, and you've got one page that you're going. So they're a great way to have really portable games as well.
They are. And if there's two pitfalls to watch for with these print and play roll and writes, one is sometimes the rules aren't well written, and it'd be hard to learn the game. And the other one is there are a few duds.
Yeah, there's definitely some duds out there.
So, obviously do your homework, but there's lots of good games. So
yeah, for sure.
So anyway, that's Roller Coaster Park. Then back to the table with a big box game.
Ooh, this was good.
Wyrmspan. We really enjoyed Wyrmspan.
Oh my god, I loved it so much.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect because I love Wingspan. We love birds, so the theme of Wingspan appeals a lot more to me than dragons. I'll be honest. Dragons are cool, they're fine, but they're not like super enticing to me.
Yes, correct. Same.
So the fact that this game was phenomenal was pleasant.
It was so surprise. Good. I mean, we played it, I don't remember what day, but it was middle of the week we played it, and the next day I was up like getting ready for work and making coffee and stuff, and I was like, I'm going to shuffle the cards so we're ready to go as soon as work is over. I was like, I'm going to reset this board because I want to play this right now.
She doesn't do that with every game.
No, I do not do that with every game. I loved Wyrmspan. I thought it definitely had sort of the bones of Wingspan where you're building a tableau on your board. But in Wyrmspan, instead of when you take an action in a row, and your piece comes back and it triggers the round actions on the card, instead in Wyrmspan, one of the things you do is you send your explorer into the caves to explore. And so that explorer is walking along the other direction. The other direction. And it's triggering abilities there. And it was different enough because it wasn't like you did an action and then you got to trigger those. It was a whole separate thing where triggering those effects was its own action, which was very different. It also meant that, I think if you got the right cards, they were very powerful. Yeah. There were some really, really great.
And you could engine things really nicely. So it was really cool. I thought it was really nice. And the mechanics of some of the cards you could use, like you can go on you can sort of trigger it. So like your explorer does this, and then you move on there's a guild board. You move on the guild board, and then you get a resource, which you can use then to plant a dragon, or, lure a dragon is what you're doing in the game. Just the way things ricocheted from one action to the next, you could really kind of get a lot of synergy going.
Yeah. And I think there was enough difference between this and Wingspan that you owning both makes sense. If you like that sort of thing. But sometimes there's games where it's really just a reskin. It's a new theme and it doesn't make sense, but this is very different. This is a different game. It's got the skeleton of Wingspan, but the rest of it is very different and wonderful. This would be in my top 100 if we were doing our top 100. I mean, if I was re-ranking.
I wasn't sure what to expect. I have to admit that after playing this, I'm excited for Finspan even more now too, because I'm just excited with all the different things you can do with this base bones of Wingspan. And I was looking at how Finspan plays, and it definitely plays differently. You send divers down columns, instead of like,
Ooh.
it's interesting.
All right. I guess I'm interested too. Fish don't appeal to me, but that sounds fun. Again, the gameplay on this was phenomenal, and it had nothing to do with the theme. With Wingspan, I love the theme.
Yeah.
Gameplay's great also, but I love the theme. With Wyrmspan, dragons are cool, but it really was all about the mechanics.
Yeah, but I think that Wyrmspan is a little less, like, it's not that Wingspan's a gateway game, because I don't really think it is, but like it's closer to a gateway game than Wyrmspan is.
Yeah.
And I don't think Wyrmspan will ever be as popular as Wingspan because of the theme and because it's a little less of a non-gamers game.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think you're right.
But I think it's a really good game. So, because there's just a little more involved, because you can't just lure dragons to your cave. First, you have to prepare the cave. So there's different steps and stuff like that. So, which works well, but it's just, you know, a little more involved.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we love Wyrmspan.
Yeah. All right, well, our final game on this list is The Quest for El Dorado, The Golden Temple.
Right.
It's really a standalone expansion. You don't even have to have the base game to play it.
True.
We have both. And you can play a mega game where you combine both of them and play the whole thing.
Which is really cool.
Which we did. And it was amazing.
Of course we did.
Yeah. So
it was interesting how you were more likely, maybe it was the mega game, you were more likely to get stuck. Where you had cards, but none of your cards matched the terrain you were surrounded by. So they had to add a rule for what to do when you're stuck. And it was just a simple rule, like you got something. I forget what you got. But like a little compensation for not being able to do anything.
A gold coin.
Gold coin, yeah. And then the coins were a new thing that you could use to, do actions.
Yeah, and so basically it's very similar to Quest for El Dorado in that it's a race, and you have a hand of cards, and the hand of cards lets you move through different terrains, lets you move through, in the original it's water, jungle, and it's gold, which I don't know what gold is.
Oh, probably
subs for money or movement in the gold spaces.
Yeah.
Here you're in a temple, and so there's a lot of spaces that you need a torch for, and so it's like torch, jungle, and water, I believe.
Yeah.
So when you combine them, like Jane is saying, you could have no torches in your hand when you're in the torch area. You could just pull everything else, and you're more likely to do that. What I love about El Dorado, and it is a race game, which is not necessarily our favorite, but I still really love the game, is I like the card market a lot.
It's fun.
So when you it's a deck builder. When you empty a stack of cards, whoever is next to buy a card gets to pick what comes down. And so you've got I think it's only
should explain that there's a base market that you can buy from, and then there's a bunch of other cards on top that you can't buy from.
Right, and you unlock those when you empty a spot. You can bring a new deck down. So you don't actually have access to those cards unless you have a special card giving you access until they're brought down. And that makes it really fun, like, not being the last one to buy a card. If Jane buys a card and it's the last one, I'm like, oh yeah, what am I going to bring down to the market next? And I think there's only 3 cards per, there's only 3 per type of cards. Yeah. So if you get the first buy, you might have a real advantage with that. So I really
that's tricky.
enjoy this.
It adds a decision, because one of your decisions is, do I really want to buy the last card of that type here and open the market so she can get whatever she wants?
Yeah, because maybe Jane will empty it next time.
Yeah.
When we played the mega game, I want to say we wiped out the market. I think we bought all the cards.
We did wipe out the market. That was interesting. Yeah,
it was interesting. And there's a third box that you can buy to make an ultra mega game, which of course I think we're going to have to do.
Yeah, we'll see if it's still available. But we really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I thought, I think that if you're not mega gamers like us, you could probably pick one.
I don't think
you don't need all 3.
If you're more of a intro board gamer or gateway board gamer,
or trying to keep a small collection,
then 1 box is sufficient. Now the one thing is, we did condense the 2 boxes into 1,
Right.
Which is nice because it doesn't take up more shelf space.
Right. I'm not sure we'll get the third box in, but
yeah, I'm not sure about that either.
We'll see.
You know, maybe with a little lid lift, we could put a board box band on it. And still condense it so it's not 2 boxes, because that would be nice.
But unlike Wyrmspan, where I think it's worth having Wyrmspan and Wingspan, I don't know that you would really need to have more than one of the Eldorados. Again, unless you're kind of crazy people like us and you want to combine them.
Bling them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our episode of Shelf of Shameful Opportunity. You know, we have a lot of unplayed games. We're going to keep trying to play through them, and we'll keep coming back with updates on our new games.
Yeah.
That we got to the table.
Yeah.
They're not all new games. Like I mentioned in the intro here, we have a game by Marzo, which I got in like 2014, and we have not played it yet. You know, we got to get that to the table.
We do. That's our goal, is to try to get through them all.
And it's okay. It's collecting dust, but it's not going anywhere, and we'll play it, and it'll be either good or bad, and we'll report back, and we'll either keep it or we'll get rid of it.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, let us know if you've played any of these and what you think of them, and if you have any recommendations based on what we like, which actually is kind of almost everything we play, but we don't play games we know we're not going to like. So let us know down in the comments what you think.
All right.
Remember, every day that you game is a holiday.